Live from Dark Easy Studios in Ellensville, Kentucky. It's time for another episode of the Evolution of Survivor Strategy. Tonight, another captain season. Ozzy versus Coach. For some reason, what's going to happen? And also, Coach kind of has a little bit of a Charles Manson vibe. Don't drink the Kool-Aid. And also, Redemption Island is back, and a surprising winner, and a new DragonSlayer. Your host, Darth Easy. Hello, Easy Nation. Welcome to another episode of Darth Easy's Evolution of Survivor Strategy. It's fun to watch. It is fun, once again, to be able to talk about Survivor, because I love Survivor, and it's, I miss talking about Survivor. I miss watching Survivor, watching new seasons, regardless if they're good or bad. I do miss Survivor. I'm looking forward to whenever season 41 will come out. Probably be a while. Probably won't be till fall of this year. And I'll be looking forward to talking about that when it comes out. But for now, we are still on a quest to finish these Evolution Survivor Strategy so far. And I've done 23 episodes. This is my 23rd episode of the Evolution Survivor Strategy. And yeah, so now we're getting into South Pacific, and the seasons from I believe, like I saw a video where it said the Dark Age of Survivor is seasons 21 Nicaragua up to Survivor, probably Cagayan. Once we get to Cagayan, once Tony comes into the picture, it kind of revives the show. But you know what? I think South Pacific is a very, very underrated season, and I found myself enjoying this season very much. So, there's so many things to talk about. So, first off, we do the captains again. So, last season, we did Russell versus Rob. And, okay, that makes sense. Rivals, captains, who's gonna win the battle between the two. This season, we brought back Coach from Survivor Tokishin and Heroes vs. Villains, and Ozzy from Survivor Fans versus Favorite and Cook Islands. I always enjoyed Ozzy. I do think the first version of Ozzy is my favorite version of Ozzy, and because he's not as arrogant as what we see in these last two seasons. But the problem with this bringing them back is because with Russell versus Rob, they're rivals. Makes sense. This season, they've never played against each other, so for a rivalry captain kind of thing, does make sense. Now, I want to talk about a little bit about the tribal game, because I feel like this was some of the closest competition in Survivor history. I think, this season becomes a Paganga, and it has to, because this is the closest, I believe, the two tribes had ever been, probably since Survivor Borneo, when it was Pagong and I forget what the other tribe was, but from that was this really much rivals it, because every challenge it was back and forth, because most of the times when you watch these especially these early seasons, because in newer seasons of Survivor we're really mixing tribes up, but this season I really enjoyed the tribal game because it was back and forth, so we got to see plenty of both sides of the game, and that's why I always like. So, Ozzy's game, I feel like in the first half of the game, is very weird because he's doing the same old Ozzy thing. He's not really taking control of anything. Really, it's Jim and Keith that's really dominating the strategy. And also, I want to talk a little bit about Cochran in the past season, because I love Cochran. Cochran, I think, we see the better version of Cochran in Survivor Fans vs. Favorites 2, Caramoan. But I'll talk about that Cochran. This Cochran, the thing about Cochran is, I'll get to it when I get to the merge part of the episode of the season, is they always make Cochran feel like he's on the bottom. He's not like how he's kind of bullied, and when you treat someone like that, they're going to not want to stay with that side. So I do feel like Ozzy and that side and that tribe doesn't do a good job. So now I want to talk about the coach point of view, because the coach is really the dominant part of the Survivor strategy this season. Coach, he builds his Type 5 alliance with I believe that's the Yulong or the whatever they're called. And so it's him, Sophie, Rick, Brandon, and also Brandon Hans, and then Alfred or Alvin. Yeah, Alfred. Alfred? I don't know what the guy's name is. So Coach is basically, I do believe there was a thing where he was praying a lot and everything, but I do think he is using the religious angle way more than and having them all kind of believe in. When you it's easy. It's like what Edna says at the Final Tribal Council, which she said when you use religion, and it is an easy way to manipulate people. And people have done that for centuries, and people will continue doing that for centuries. And I really did enjoy the way Coach was playing. Sophie, the winner of the season, played a very good game, and probably a game that's very underappreciated, as we saw her again in Survivor Winners of War, and it's always like she has something to prove, but I feel like Sophie played a great game and everything. So, the Redemption Island was back. We had Christine. She was doing great, but the one tribe side, the Aussie tribe, Aussie realizes, if I go into Redemption Island, I can win, and we can even the numbers up. Ballsy move, but if you're Aussie, you're good at the challenges. You can most likely win. Either you win, you come back a hero, or you lose, and you go out worse than you did last time. So it happens. Aussie wins the challenge. Now we're going 6-6. Now, here's the thing about it. There was a double immunities. So Dawn wins the first part of the immunity. The second immunity, Aussie wins. They also play the immunity idol on Whitney, regardless. So when a vote goes to a tiebreaker, if it's deadlock, and after the second time no one will change their mind, you draw rocks. We've only seen rocks drawn since the 4th season, Survivor Marquesas. I've talked about that in that last episode, in episode 4 or chapter 4 of the Evolution of Survivor Strategy. So listen to that if you want to hear more about some of the rock drawing. And I will be talking more about rock drawing when we get to Blood versus Water and Survivor Millennial versus Gen X. But Cochran, even though it's like he came here to play Survivor, he didn't want to draw rocks, and the fear of drawing rocks is always going to make people not want to draw rocks. We saw this before in Survivor Samoa when John Fincher decided he did not want to draw rocks. He did not want to play the game. He didn't want to play the odds in that game. And even though Cochran had his side of the alliance had a very good shot, but Coach. Say what you want about Coach, but Coach invites Cocker in. He warms him up. He says, I'll take you farther than what they'll ever take you. You don't want to be with that side. And he drinks the Kool-Aid a little bit. And Cochran, only Cochran and Jim were really at risk. All the people on Coach's side were at risk. So it would have been disastrous. So really, Cochran should have really thrown the dice. But I do not think Cochran makes it past Final 6. So what's the difference between 6 and 7? There is no difference between 6 and 7. If you don't make it to the Final 3, if you don't make it to the Final 4, what's the difference? So I appreciate Cochran. He wrote, sometimes the quote Battlestar Galactica, you gotta row the hard 6, and Cochran did it. So Ozzy gets voted out in the next episode, and Ozzy goes on a Redemption Island run. Brandon, also, I want to talk a little bit about Brandon Hans. Brandon just not the greatest. It's very much of a disgrace to the Hans family. And really, there's only been one good Hans. And I'll talk more about Brandon when we get to Caramoan in a couple episodes. But, his brother Russell's brother Willie, who played Survivor, or not Survivor, but he played Big Brother 14, got exit because he headbutted a guy. Maybe you'll hear me talk about that when I get to the Evolution of Big Brother strategy. I don't know. That may not be a joke. But, so we get to the tribe, and, the season comes into this is where the season gets kind of boring. It becomes a Pagongin. But to be honest with you, of all the Pagongins since season 1, I think this is one of the more enjoyable Pagongins. Okay, so then we get to the final four, but really we get to the final five because Ozzy comes back and they have to. Coach always been that person. I wanna walk the Warriors' path. What he said in Tokushi. I want to walk the Warriors' path. I want to go with the greatest Warriors that can make it to the finals, and that's the way I want to play my Survivor game. And he doesn't do that because he takes out Ozzy. Sophie wins that Final 5 immunity or Final 4 immunity and takes Ozzy out and says, I am the new DragonSlayer. Because Sophie slayed the dragon. She literally became the DragonSlayer. Had a great Final Tribal Council because Coach really had a terrible Final Tribal Council. I feel like if Coach had owned his game a little more in the finals, I mean, like, yeah, I manipulated you. Yes, I used a religious card. And yes, I deserve the win. I think Coach probably would have been the winner, but I think Sophie, to call her an undervalued winner, I think is a disgrace because I think Sophie played a terrific game. I think Coach played a terrific game. Alfred, or not Alvin, or whatever the guy's name is, I think his game was a little squirrely where he was trying to play the social game, but he just couldn't do it. And so, yeah, Sophie wins I had to say, South Pacific. I said it again once. I said it at the beginning, and I'll say it again. I think a very underrated season. I was enjoying watching the tribes going back and forth. I enjoyed Ozzy's little run. I'm glad he lost because I do not feel like winning competitions is how you play Survivor. I think it's more about the strategy and the manipulation. And I think Sophie definitely deserved the win. And yeah, so I enjoy South Pacific. And yeah, that's all I gotta say about that, guys. So guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Evolution Survivor Strategy. What your thoughts are, comment below, let me know. And guys, if you like this video, click that thumbs up and subscribe to see more. Tell your friends about Easy Nation. And guys, until next time, all too easy.